Okay, so I've been wanting to get into solo role playing for a while, and I've been trying to because like I want to solo role play, but I also want to turn it into a real actual art that is something that has an output that feels real. And I was like, well, either you improvise this whole story in camera, but then it's difficult and it's not something that I normally would do. Sometimes I can make myself do it, but it's not the thing that I would do with solo role playing. What I can do is have little adventures that I'm playing as I'm playing them, and then I can just tell you about them, and that would be like my solo role playing log. So I have already started playing an adventure, I have just made a character, and I've improvised a couple of scenes, and I'm just gonna tell you about them because it would be cool. So I wanted to play a fantasy adventure, which is like the most simple default thing that would not be too overwhelming. So I was like, well, I want to play a wizard. Like wizard boy is always the character that I am driven to play, and so boy wizard. But I've been thinking about what kind of wizard I would want to be, and it reminded me of Dimension 20 pirate campaign where they had this little guy called Cheese, who is like a little pirate wizard, and I was like, yeah, I want this. And I also love Black Sails, the TV show, and they have this character John Silver, who is like cocky, charming, young trickster, liar, kind of like charming social person who always uses his cleverness to do stuff. And I was like, yes, John Silver, like something between Cheese and John Silver. Like Cheese is more innocent and like wholesome guy, and John Silver is like more tricky and cunning, and that's what I want. So my wizard's name is Fizz, and I was like, well, how does a wizard become a pirate? He's like a charming, messy hair, 17-year-old guy, and like, how did he end up in the pirate island? Well, I don't want to deal with him having parents and like family relationships. I just want to focus on pure adventure. So the most default obvious choice, he's an orphan. And what does the orphan do on the pirate island? And I've been thinking about it, and it was like, okay, so orphan, like how does he become a wizard? And I was like, he stole a wizard's spell book, because that fixes everything, that puts everything into place. So he was an orphanage somewhere on the mainland. There was some shitty wizard whom I don't know anything about yet, but I was like, okay, so if he stole wizard's spell book, then he would have to run away with it, and he ran away to the pirate island. So he stowed away on the ship, and then and that's where our adventure begins. I don't know much else about him or the wizard or the world of the story. I just know that he now has a spell book, and he's like super passionate about learning magic. He wants to learn how to cast spells, and he learned a couple of spells on his like he snuck into a cargo hold, and he was basically most of the ship's journey in the cargo hold. And he probably was flipping through the book and maybe learned a couple of spells, and I actually wrote them down. So as I define the character, I define their abilities, like the problem solving tools that they have that will enable them to overcome challenges. So his abilities are a sinister spell book that is probably illegal. I figured out it separately. I will tell you about it more later. He has charm, like cocky personality, and he's handsome and dashing smile and all of that. He has learned 2 spells so far. So he has Mage Hand and Minor Illusion. Normally I would think about like, oh, what are the optimal spells? What else could he know? But you know what? These are the ones that I wrote down. I'm just gonna go with them, and if he needs more spells later, he will figure out more spells later. So and also these are some of my favorite spells. All right, so he's pirate wizard, something between Cheese and John Silver from Black Sails, an orphan who stole a shithead wizard's spell book, stowed away on the ship on the ship to escape. Oh, and also another relevant is like characters game, like they describe in improv, like unique perspective that makes them unusual and different from other people, which usually creates funny moments as they act according to their personality, which enables them to create absurd situations where they react not the way people normally would, but they would react according to their personality and in an exaggerated way that creates absolutely ridiculous behavior. So the character game is something I just took references like Fabian from Dimension 20, John Silver, and Jack Sparrow. So these are like cocky, high confidence in themselves, trickster kind of guys who would be fun to play as. So I will just keep that in mind and we will see if it will come into play. And so far I have a couple of scenes. I will just tell you about the first one. So the location is dark cargo hold, and a cannonball smashes through the hull of the ship. And now I introduce my character. Fizz ducks just in time for the cannonball to miss his head by a few centimeters. He is 17 years old with disheveled hair and a wild look in his eyes. He clutches an ornate book tied to his chest. So I'm trying to write scenes kind of like in a summary bullet point kind of way, but also in screenwriting style, the way a screenplay would be written in the first person. Oh, like not the first person, in the current time, and like from third person, and I only describe what the camera can see, not what's going on in the character's head. At least I'm trying to focus on that, and we will see how it goes, but right now I'm trying to do that. So he ducks out of the cannonball, and after a moment of silence he hears screams and gunshots that erupt from the upper deck. So that's me introducing an obstacle, something like a danger or something that stands in his place, so in his way. And then he hears gruff voices and loud slams against the door. So now I need to define his goal. What does he want in this scene? Fizz frantically looks around, grabs a bag of rice, pours out its contents, and hides the book inside it to hide the book. And he looks out of the hole made by the cannonball, and on the other side he sees ocean and a shore in the distance. And he realizes, okay, so obviously there's battle going on upstairs. I don't want to be anywhere. I don't want to be here. So he attempts to pry apart the planks to make the hole in the hull of the ship wider, so he can jump out of it and escape into the ocean. So he kicks at the loose plank when the door into the cargo hold where he was hiding blasts off its hinges, and he sees a giant orc. It has like eye patch, saber, golden teeth, tricorn hat, the whole deal. And the orc locks eyes with him and then glances at the bag that he's holding. "What do you got there, fish?" the orc growls. And Fizz grabs onto the plank with all of his weight as he's like, he tries to get out of the ship, and he pulls as hard as he can. "Oh, just some potatoes," he replies to the orc, like trying to hide what's in the bag. "Oh, it's just some potatoes. They're very dear to my heart, you know, sentimental value." Orc grins. "I like potatoes. Let me see." And he advances towards Fizz, gripping his saber. So now I rolled the dice to see whether Fizz will manage to break through the wall in time to escape. And it was like I needed to roll over 10. I rolled only 10, so it's like he barely escaped. So I described the outcome of this. So I described the setting, character, their goal in the scene, the obstacle in their path, the action they take to overcome the obstacle, which is like jumping out of the place, out of the hole. And the outcome of the action is that the plank finally comes loose, and Fizz uses its momentum and swings it at the approaching orc. The plank harmlessly bounces off the orc's face, and Orc swings with his saber at Fizz, but Fizz already jumped out of the hole and he's plummeting towards the ocean. And then we see Fizz swimming towards the shore as the ship behind him is overtaken by the pirates, by the Orc pirates. And I end the scene on the hook. So I say that the orc roars, "Hey, get back there! Nobody gets off this boat without captain say so." And as Fizz gets closer to the shore, he turns around to see the orcs lowering down the boat to pursue him. So that actually was improvised a bit later. It's a bit of retcon. So I was playing the next scene, and I was trying to figure out what Fizz was going to do in the next scene, and I realized that it would be more fun for him not to just escape orcs, but I want orcs to actually be pursuing him and hunting him. So, and the way the first scene worked out is that the orc didn't see his book. So I was first thinking that orc would see some special book in his hands and would be driven to chase that. But instead, the way it worked out is that the orcs don't. And I needed to justify to figure out a way to give orcs a reason to pursue him. So I was like, what if orcs work with the wizard? The wizard wants his spell book back, and the orc pirates, maybe he hired them. But then I was like, why would wizard hire orc pirates? Why wouldn't he just use his wizardly powers? But then I was like, well, he's just a wizard. He's not all powerful. Maybe he's not powerful enough to capture him. And I was like, well, why wouldn't he just like call the police or whatever the authorities in this world are and have them capture it? Why not do it officially? And I was like, oh, maybe the wizard has some shady, creepy research in his book that he's not supposed to have, so he wants to keep it secret. And so that was what led me to write this hook. So after I was already playing the next scene, I went back and added this hook. I was like, yeah, so we need to establish that orcs are actually hunting him. And then in the next scene, actually, I'm going to tell you about the next scene now because I still have enough energy to do it. So the plank finally comes loose. I've been there. So, okay, so I rolled a random prompt, which is Strange Factory. I roll a few prompts using like the collection of prompts that I have made for myself. And I roll a couple of random words, and then I select the ones that I like. So Strange Factory, which is like loosely interpreted, I decided that it's going to be a boathouse on the shore of the land that he arrived at, because I want him to be in like Black Sails, Nassau, Tortuga kind of place, like filled with pirates and stuff. So he was always gonna arrive to this place, but where does he land specifically? And I decided, like, based on this prompt, that's the random part. So I write down the location for the next scene. Fizz coughs out the water as he pulls his way up onto the rocky shore. He sees a small boathouse nearby, which is like a place where they produce boats, I guess. That's like my interpretation of the Strange Factory prompt. And there's also jungle leading deep into the island. And another prompt I have rolled for action, and it was Infiltrate Friend, which fits well enough because he needs to hide from the orcs and he needs to hide somewhere. So I defined the goal for the scene. So Fizz is exhausted and shaking. He turns to see the boat fast approaching, and he hears orcs screaming, "He's right there! Paddle faster!" One of the orcs roars. Fizz looks around, searching for shelter. His eyes land on a boathouse. And now the action he takes to overcome the challenge in his scene and achieve his goal. So he runs along the beach in the opposite direction from the boathouse and enters the jungle, and then tracks backward towards the destination, which is his boathouse. So basically he tries to mislead them. And I rolled the dice, like, can he actually confuse the pirates and make them think that he went in the opposite direction? And by default, the number I have to roll over is 10 to succeed, and he rolled 9, so he failed. As he runs towards the workshop, that's the outcome of the action. As he runs towards the workshop, he hears, "No, you idiots! Look at the broken plants! He looped around and went to the workshop." So that's the next scene. And orcs are now chasing him to the workshop. So the next scene just logically follows from that. Fizz runs up to the door and enters it. And inside he sees a workshop with several overturned boats and a small old man with a huge mustache working on them. It's always huge mustache with me. It's always makes a character funny. And Fizz is like, "Hey friend, I need to hide here from some unfriendly fellows." And what's the obstacle? Well, the boathouse guy doesn't want to have anything to do with danger. So the boathouse worker hears the growls of the approaching orcs. He goes, what would his voice be? "No way, man! Are you crazy? I'm not putting myself in the way of Borgnar and his crew." Borgnar is apparently an orc. So that's what we are. That's where we are at now. Fizz wants to hide in the boathouse. Orcs are quickly approaching, and the boathouse guy will refuse to help him hide. So now I need to figure out what Fizz is going to do next, and I have no idea. I don't really have a good idea what I would do in this situation. So at this point I have defined the spells of Mage Hand and Minor Illusion, because spells are like extra problem-solving tools that enable you to figure out how to like creatively overcome obstacles using more tools and abilities and resources than a normal person would have. So maybe he will use spells. There's also always social approach. He's charming. Maybe he could convince the guy. And there's also action approach. You can sneak or run or hide or fight, stuff like that. Still haven't decided what's gonna happen next. He might, and maybe I'll just list the available actions and just roll the dice to see what he decides if I'm really struggling. That actually feels like a good idea, and I should try doing it. Unless I have a good idea and have a great epiphany. But if not, this seems like the next thing for me to do. I would just write down. So like, he can use a spell, he can talk to the guy and try to persuade him, or he can try sneak or fight or something like that. So like, use his abilities, use social solution, or use action solution. So I will define 3 broad categories. I will roll for them, and ideally this helps me to make decision and figure out what happens next. If not, I will just decide to do something else and figure something out. But that's what I have so far. Peace. So this is a good place to record the ending of the scene. So I couldn't figure out what Fizz will do next when he is chased by the orcs. But then I decided to select several options for him. So he could take some sort of action, sneak, run, or fight, stuff like that. Or he could take a social approach, charm, lie, or intimidate the botsman. And or he could use one of his abilities, like one of his spells, or he could use environment around him creatively, because that's mostly covers a large set of options during role playing. So I rolled for social and decided that he is going to lie about the orcs. So he would lie about the orcs killing everybody on their path. And this is how it turned out. So Fizz goes. So basically, we ended off with hearing the growls of the approaching orcs. The worker goes, "No way, are you crazy? I'm not putting myself in the way of Borgnar and his crew." And then Fizz replies, "Don't you get it, pal? You're already in their way. And they're angry and they're taking their day out on everybody they meet." And the boatsman replies, "But I'm just a boat repairman. I've done nothing to them." And Fizz goes, "And I was just sitting around on the side of the road selling blueberries. Then the orcs came and were like, screw this guy, and started chasing me. And we need to get out of here quick." So then I rolled the dice to see if he was going to succeed. and I rolled with advantage because Fizz is good at social stuff. He's charming, as we have established. And I rolled 4 and 10, so 10 was just enough to succeed. And so basically the bossman replies, "Ah, gosh darn it, Borgnar gang gets crazier every day. We don't just stand there, help me barricade the door." So they both rush together. I decided to call the boat repairman Dorf. So Dorf and Fizz rush together to tip over an unfinished boat and put it against the gate of the boathouse to block the path of the orcs. And then they take another boat, drop it into the water, and begin to paddle away as fast as they can, while the sounds of furious orcs slamming against the door echo from behind them, from the boathouse. And finally, I just needed to end a scene on a hook, and the exciting hook for me would be for them to set off to actually explore the city, the pirate city, you know, like Tartuga, Nassau kind of situation. That's where I want him to end up. So Fizz goes, "So, where can we find shelter? Oh, my name is Fizz, by the way." "My name's Dorf. Can't say my pleasure," grumbles the bossman. "We go to Freehaven, of course. Where else?" And they go to Freehaven.